We'll give a few minutes again to get started before we get going. So we have a couple of new people who've jumped on. We're going to give it a couple more minutes for everybody to filter in before we get started. So just sit tight. We'll get going shortly. Alrighty, well, we're giving it a bit of time for everybody to come in, so we'll get started. Everybody, thanks a lot for attending today's zCompute training session with Zadara Edge Cloud. My name is Spencer McKeady. I'm a campaign manager here at Zadara, and I'm joined by Colleen Brookover, who's our senior director and partner executive, as well as Donna Corey, our senior solutions architect lead. And just to give you an idea, we're going to start today by offering a bit of background about Zadara's history, as well as helping you understand some of the more industry-specific terms we use here to discuss our solutions. Colleen will then give a brief overview of the market outlook and explain some of the business drivers that help make Zadara successful. And then right after her will come Donna to take a deeper dive into the technology involved in delivering Zadara at the edge. Afterwards, we'll have some time available for questions. However, to ensure that we do have enough of that time, I'm going to hand over the reins to Colleen so that we can all get started. However, before I do, I just want to make sure that everyone knows that this session is being recorded, and we're going to have a recording available for you to view at the end. So without any further ado, Colleen Brookover.
Thank you, Spencer. So quickly, I'm going to go over the Zadara history so you kind of understand how we started and how we got to the point we're at today. As you can see in our 12-year history, we've had a lot of awards, accolades, and we've hit a lot of great milestones. Zadara was founded in 2011, and in 2012, we launched the cloud platform and introduced block storage. As we moved through, we really focused heavily in the few years on just storage. And in 2020 and 2021 is when Zadara introduced zCompute and acquired Stratascale. In that time, we moved very quickly. So from 2020 to 2021, we ended up being named the partner for top edge technology vendor. We were also named Edge Cloud IoT Excellence Awards So we racked up a lot of awards in that time. And in 2023, we became even more successful in launching and partnering with Caspen, being V12 ready, being a partner for the edge computing company to watch. And then biggest accomplishment is that we surpassed 500 edge clouds globally. Next slide, please. So when we talk about edge, we say, well, what is the edge? So we figured we'd go to the experts of all experts, right? Chat GTP. So what we did was we asked them, we asked Chat, what is edge cloud? So it's a decentralized model of cloud that brings you closer to compute. It improves your response times and saves on your bandwidth. So what that also looks like typically is infrastructure as a service, where you're going to have real-time processing, low latency for those low latency applications. So you actually are on the edge of the network. So you're closer to your users and your devices. Next slide. So we go, okay, now we have edge. What does that mean to you and why is that important? When we're looking at the edge infrastructure, we realize through STL partners, they did the research on this, that the edge infrastructure market is growing, and it is growing faster than any of the other markets. So what they projected is there's going to be $543 billion by 2030, and there's going to be the growth in that is actually going to be most 102% is going to be in the edge computing infrastructure. Next slide. So the edge infrastructure revenue is actually growing at 8%. So it's actually going to be 40 billion in the infrastructure alone. So you say, okay, well, how do I get that 40 billion? Where does that happen for me? Where can I bring that to my clients? Well, Zadara, as I had mentioned before, has over 500 cloud locations globally. So this is where we can really put the industry's money where its mouth is. So why don't we show you the global map so you can see where you can reach all of these locations. Okay, so now we see all the locations. What's that mean to you and Zadara? So with that, Donna's going to wrap it all up and show you how we put the Zadara services with the edge infrastructure and to you. Donna?
Okay, thank you, Colleen. I appreciate that helps. Excuse me, I appreciate you setting the table to make this a lot easier for us. So most of you on the call today already use our services in the storage space. Some of you are already doing compute as well, but a large number of you, I'm recognizing the names, that are using our storage. And that's what we've been known for. But now we have both storage and compute. So we can give you all of these services with that same availability to be able for you and your customers to be able to pay as you use, where we're providing that management on the back end, and we really are able to build that at an enterprise grade environment. So this is, again, completely elastic, consumption based, EC2 compatible. So if your customers are already using AWS, they can continue to use that same look and feel, a lot of the same scripting. I'm not going to promise you that all your Terraform scripts are going to work because I haven't seen your Terraform scripts, but we support hundreds of those APIs. So a lot of our customers are finding that the scripting just needs a few tweaks at the front and back, and then we can make that operate. The storage underlying that still supports block, file, and object, just like you're used to. And then zCompute, again, fully elastic compute that can scale to how your business operates. It can be located anywhere. So these can be in data centers that you already own, that you're already managing on behalf of your clients. Some of your clients may need to do that and then also have something on premise. And then we're going to talk about it a little more about really being able to reach back into that map Colleen showed us. So where if you have customers with low latency requirements, you can now continue to support your clients, but then give them that visibility and that availability at the edge. So the semantics here, when we start looking at this is enterprise grade cloud, AWS compatible APIs. It is designed to be multi-tenant. The thing we did here, and both here and in our storage, that's a little different than especially our storage provider co-opetition, is we built this from the ground up to absolutely be a multi-tenant architecture so that you can set these things up and then isolate your customers to where they needed to be. But this can service thousands of machines, thousands of private clouds. Once that infrastructure is there, you can build a cloud for customer 1 and a cloud for customer 2. They never have to see each other. They can't see each other. I can now force them to see each other, but that takes a lot of extra doing. But you can have all of these tenants. So each tenant administrator manages their own cloud on your infrastructure and makes this real easy to develop and move for yourself. This is going to be the t-shirt sizes that you're used to seeing within the AWS infrastructure. You can also customize this, but what size VMs do you need? But that also makes it easy for you to price. I want you to keep this slide in mind, because when you might need that for a low latency application, that's the granularity you can get to what we can buy at the next phase. So a lot of the common use cases that we're seeing as we're working through the compute infrastructure, there are some folks who want everything. They want the cloud vision, but they're not comfortable going to the cloud, whether that is a regulatory requirement, a personal preference, but there are customers, and we've all talked to them, that I don't want to do that. I don't want to be out there with all of those people. I don't want to be part of this huge infrastructure. So those are still out there. We're also starting to see some repatriation. People are realizing that that's not been, cloud was a great idea. It allows you to get more use, just like virtualization was a great idea to get better use out of an asset. Now cloud has this great promise, but they're not seeing that. Either their bills are too high, the latency isn't there, or they can't bring it back. We still see a lot in a DR. They may still be in a hyperscaler, but they want their DR to not be in a hyperscaler. One of the other key ones we're seeing, though, is that low latency piece. I can't have my app run over there. I need it to run here. I need it to be in my municipality. I need that app close to where 90% of my users are. And that's becoming a huge factor. And there are some other technologies that can combat that, but none of them right now have the global reach and the availability to truly put compute clouds anywhere they need to be. So I want to talk to you about 2 stories today. One was a partner story. We have an existing partner. They happen to be on the call, but out of courtesy, I'm not using their name, but they were an early Z storage partner. They're one of my favorite partners. You know who you are. But they added zCompute as an early adopter. That allowed them to gain additional customers. It's allowed them to have a lower investment than the VMware infrastructure. VMware is a great product, guys. I'm not going to knock it, and it still works with our storage. And a lot of people made a lot of money with it, and it's rock solid. Used to love it, still do. But the challenge is 90% of the customers I've run into across my career use about 8 to 12% of that fully featured, huge, marvelous thing. So there's a huge tax, for want of a better word, on that, because you're having to spend so much money on all those licenses to use these features. So we have a large number of features, but we've chosen to focus on the features that provide the best bang for the buck. So if you can add zCompute to your existing portfolio, that allows you to add additional services, add higher margins on those value-added services, and keep growing. My customer story for an end customer, and this is the one that's using our federated edge, which we're going to talk about a little more, but they have a video surveillance analyzing application. It's kind of cool. If you're a privacy advocate, I don't recommend you go look at them, but they make some great stuff, and it's very powerful. But latency absolutely matters, because they're evaluating video feeds in real time. They are the ones looking for the bad guys. Milliseconds can count and literally in this case, can make life and death decisions. They came to us and said, we want to use your platform. We love the idea. But they don't need a platform. They needed literally 2 VMs. So they have 2 VMs in the municipality where they've sold that service to this particular police department. It works beautifully. It means their app is running faster. It's running solid. They are able to make great real-time decisions. Decisions that were made it on CNN and Fox News. But from a provider standpoint, the provider was paid. Okay, they're one of our FE providers in that municipality. They got paid on it. They've done nothing. They've never even met these people. And that the end client has just come back to us this week. They're expanding into other cities. So they're never going to be 70 VMs in one location. They're going to be 2 here, 2 here, 2 here, 2 here, 2 here, 2 here, 5 over there, huge, bigger city. But what that does is means back on that map, one customer actually is consuming resources in small amounts all over the piece, but you can sell it that way from your customer. Then you get paid on the overall revenue. The partner where it actually sits gets paid a percentage. So it becomes a revenue share model, but everybody gets paid, and the customer gets a very consistent experience, and more importantly, they get that low latency, and that is key to what they need to try and put together to make those applications work. So we're actually building the world's largest public edge cloud. Now, we have customers that are doing this totally private, and they have our entire infrastructure, and they will never make that available to anybody. And you can do that. You can also have a combination of things. So you can use our technology and do that for certain clients. And then you can also have a shared infrastructure that you're selling into individual multi-tenant clients. But you can do that, but the pricing is consistent, and you can sell at any of those locations. So that the key one from your standpoint is that you don't have to have a relationship in Brazil if you have a local customer who now needs 5 servers in Brazil. So that's something I want everybody to think about as you're building that out. And the dots on this map change every month. So let's recap how we're putting all this together. zCompute allows you to host high performance applications at low latency, can solve your client's data sovereignty. Do any of you have clients who may have a presence in a country where data sovereignty is absolutely key? They can't move the data for those clients, for their end clients, out of either the EU, a specific country. We have one that they can't move out of a specific city. Another one can't, and then not from a regulatory standpoint, but because of some legal ramifications, they can't move it out of the building. So, I mean, we can actually deploy those clouds down to that level of granularity. This also is going to let you create new recurring revenue streams for your businesses without having any additional CapEx on your standpoint. And then being able to host those workloads closer to the end consumer is key, because milliseconds can matter. I've talked to some people about doing this both for video surveillance as well as video production, looking at it for customers. We've looked at it. I was talking to somebody about ticketing apps. How many of you have ever sat there and hit that button to try and get tickets to something? Latency can matter, but that matters to your customers, therefore it matters to their customers. And it's just another piece that has that as an option to move those things out. You know, as we're moving more and more to the Internet of Things and the analytics that goes with all the things that are out there with pieces, you start depending on, you hit the button and the thing happens. You want it to be instant. I know as Americans, we are not particularly patient with some of these things, but as we work with the Internet of Things, you start to depend on having those low latency connections. So being able to move computing closer to things, especially when manufacturing, are going to be key, and people are going to continue to demand that level of low latency connections. So Our full stack includes EC2 compatible cloud, then fully featured block, file, and object. zCompute always includes our storage. So the service is all inclusive. So you get hardware, software, and operation. And that federated edge is a game changer because now that gives you that global reach for both your current workloads and your workloads in the future for your end clients. So I wanted to thank you for coming. I wanted to appreciate all of you being here. As you have additional questions, you can reach out to Colleen or work with your existing sales teams. But do you have any questions that you have for either Colleen or myself or Spencer? I think Spencer will have to open up some of the audio.
And we may have to open up the chat too, Spencer.
Yeah. I don't see any in the chat right now.
Yeah, so we've got the chat open if anybody would like to drop any questions.
But if not, or if you think of a question later, please reach out to me or contact your sales rep if you know who that is. Or if you need direction on to who your sales rep is, it'll either be me or someone within Zadara that I can direct you to.
All right, I have a note from Stephen. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen.
And we intentionally tried to keep this very high level. So if you have any questions or want additional in-depth conversations, we can set that up at your convenience.
We don't have any additional questions. I guess we'll leave it open for
Okay,
a couple more minutes.
I do have a question from,
good.
I do have a question with Stephen. So there's a couple of ways. Stephen's question is, how does replication work with zCompute? So there's a couple of ways we can do this. We can replicate the underlying data stores and then duplicate the environment at a secondary location. There is not a native, at this time, there is not a native direct replication with our technologies. We do have some technologies that we can put together that allows you to create a secondary copy at another location. And those are expanding literally every week. I finished another one this week. So we're trying to put a lot of those together because that is absolutely a requirement.
We can work directly with you to help you with that.
Mm-hmm. And so there's two ways we can do this. Stephen's question here is, how is it orchestrated using Z storage? So in a generic environment, and the one I tested this week is our storage is presenting standard EBS volumes. You can also replicate, you can also consume standard VPSA volumes. So we still have the ability to replicate a VPSA just like you do today, and then have that data move across. So this is where we look at it very specific to what are you protecting? Are you trying to protect the entire estate, or are you attempting to protect, say, an underlying database? So we would use a VPSA to help replicate the databases out. So that's part of how we help design this solution. And since I know who Stephen's sales rep is, and I will make sure we get in touch.
It looks like for some, the chat may still be disabled.
Yeah, so Stephen, I'll get with you offline, but yes, you do. Yeah. You do not have to connect. You do not have to connect the survived VPSA to the hypervisor. They can consume each other. So if you were to lose one and not the other, but the data is there. There is some and there depends on if you need network changes. That's why, unfortunately, the answer is it depends on how we set it up. So we want to make sure we're looking at all the parameters there. Colleen and I spent a frightening number of years in the DR business. So it always depends, but there are ways we can make this work.
Yeah. And that's why if we get deeper into this, this is why we suggest you either reach out to me and we'll direct you where you need to go, and we can have an in-depth conversation and kind of understand your specific use case.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody, we have the chat open in case you'd like to drop anything in there. Sorry, we had a bit of an issue, but if you do have any more questions, feel free to drop them right into the chat.
Yeah, Stephen,
so,
thank you for the
yes.
great question.
And he has one more. He wanted to know any options with DAS and VDI with zCompute. Yes, I will get you a white paper. Great questions. I have white papers about, but yes. And then my manager is actually actively working on a VDI project for somebody as well on top of the one. So we have a number of people doing that.
And feel free, if you have something very unique, reach out to your rep, reach out to me. Typically the unique is where we play the best, where Zadara seems like it's the best fit. So if there's something unique or a one-off, those weird use cases are typically the ones where we really will play nicely. So please reach out to us. Oh, do we have another question?
I don't see another one in the chat. Okay. All right. Well, with that, I really appreciate everybody taking the time out on a busy Wednesday. And we will also, right after this, you'll be getting a survey. So please fill that out and tell us how we did. And we're hoping to be able to offer more of these throughout the rest of 2023.
Yeah, so please let us know if there's something else that you want to learn about. If there's another piece of Zadara offerings that you want to learn more about, we can have those as another presentation point for you.
All right, well, thank you very much, everybody. You can expect those surveys shortly, but we appreciate you coming out today and hope you enjoy the rest of your week and have a fantastic holiday weekend. Thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone.